Hi, this is Kunal Vias, your host of The Last Mile with RxMile.
Hey, Pharmacy Podcast Network. I am the host and founder of the Pharmacy Podcast, or I should say just founder, because I'm not the host of that network. I'm the host of actually Twerks This Week in Pharmacy. But I'm just getting excited because I have met Kunal Vias, who is the founder, the CEO of RxMile. We met at Lisa Fast's a Diversify Rx conference. I was so impressed with a little bit of his reputation already in logistics and how important that is and tying in with your pharmacy management system. But this is a special launch of a new 3-part series that we are partnered with RxMile and their team called The Last Mile with RxMile. This is your podcast. Is this your first series of podcasts, Kunal, that you're doing yourself?
Correct. This is my first series, 100%. Yes.
This is awesome. All right. So right out of the gate, let's talk to our pharmacy owners. By the way, if you're a pharmacist at a hospital system, specialty pharmacy, long-term care, I want you listening into this too, because services will be expanding out of the RxMile portfolio. But let's start where the sweet spot was, where your heart was, Kunal, and that was independent community pharmacies. How did you start RxMile? How did this come up?
Oh, that's a long story, but I'm going to kind of shorten it up here for you real quick. So when I was 22 years old, just finished, I was about to go to college. So at this point, my uncle was running a MSO here in Orlando, Florida. We were the second largest MSO. That is a primary care physicians. So at that point in 2002 is where he said, look, I need you to come work with me and help me expand this. We expanded it out throughout the whole Central Florida market. Long story short, it was sold to Humana, which is now called Centerwell, back in 2019. But during that time, it was servicing at full risk 30,000 Medicare Advantage patients. And his mindset was, look, we need to have a pharmacy that can service these people because it's just not working out as far as what they're currently using. Either they're not going to pick up their meds, or they don't have transportation, or they can't afford the copay, whatever reasons there were. Because this was all managed care. So at that point, in 2006 is when I started my journey into the pharmacy space. And that's when we started. I started as a pharmacy technician, got my technician license, and just started counting the pills in the beginning. Then the mindset was that we want to try to service as many patients here so we can ensure that they are receiving their medications. When they're coming out of the hospital, we can actually have a touch point to have somebody even go visit them, maybe for a medication reconciliation, to make sure that they're taking what they are, so they're not a readmit. So the mindset was, hey, I need you to do this and go. If it's not a profit center, I don't mind. It could be a cost center, but it needs to focus on us, the profit center, right? Which was the MSO. And long story short, we went from 0 to 20 million ARR dealing with just maintenance medications. I always joke with people and tell them that I used to fill packets of ketchup and napkins. I never dealt with the steak and potatoes. I didn't do specialty. I didn't do compounding. And we were able to make a profit back then. That was back in the day when we actually got reimbursements for certain maintenance medications, which patients need to maintain. Whereas now people don't really value the maintenance medications and just siphoning it over to mail order and whatnot. But, with that background, 2019, I did sell my pharmacy when he sold his MSO practice. Prior to that, I did go to Tampa for 2 years, and we had a HMO, which was called Citrus Healthcare.
Okay.
2 years, we sold that to United Health after building that up. So I've kind of seen the touch point of how the HMO looks at the patient, the MSO looks at the patient, and then obviously becoming an owner of a pharmacy myself, how the pharmacy looks at the patient, right? With that, my journey kind of went into ownership at the time where I did sell my pharmacy. And I can jump into that, but I'm going to stop and let Mr. Todd speak because I always feel like I'm taking over.
No, not at all. I just find stories of entrepreneurs fascinating, of how you've got where you are. There's roots in your story. That's why I wanted you to tell the listeners, you're not just a flash out of a pan and now all of a sudden here's RxMile. This has been part of a whole build out of why you're doing this today, because you saw things a very certain way back when you were in the business, when you had your own pharmacy, when you were a technician. There were gaps in logistics. There were gaps in safe delivery. There were gaps in the sliding of how mail order has taken over in a lot of ways, which is creating a lot of bad situations for a lot of people who need their maintenance medications ongoing. So the journey as employee to entrepreneur is absolutely fascinating, because there are pharmacists right now who are thinking of themselves going into entrepreneurial build out of their own businesses, and they're working for other people. And it's, isn't it funny? I mean, I've been doing this for 15 years, and people are always like, wow, there's people that will tell me that never met me before. This podcast, network, this is amazing. This is great what you're doing. And I'm like, yeah, like we've been doing it for 15 years. Like, it's not an overnight success thing, nor is your understanding of the business of pharmacy. So the transition
15 years to get overnight success. That's what I call it.
Exactly. 15 years for overnight success. Exactly. So talk to me about that transition from being an employee to the founder of Delivery Stat, which was kind of like the first version of now what we have in RxMile.
Correct. So basically, I eventually took ownership of the pharmacy 2 years prior to selling it, and I did prepare for selling in 2 years. Reason I did was I saw where the industry was going, right? And I didn't want to run away from it. I wanted to bring something of value back. So we'll get back to that. But, in my early, when I owned a pharmacy, I was dealing with the product. I was dealing with what needs to get to the patient, buying something and putting it out there, adjudicating the claim, right? So my first business was based on that. Then when we opened up the logistics company, which you had mentioned, DeliverStat, that was based all around distribution, right? So now is distributing the product. Right now, today, we do about 3,000 plus deliveries in South Florida, Miami. It's a very lucrative industry as far as logistics compared to pharmacy. You're stuck with that 88% cost on drugs, or I mean, what am I saying? 22% gross, probably, if you're lucky, on certain drugs. But in this industry, you get density, you can create more margin. And with that said, where I'm at now, which is RxMile, the birth of that came from me feeling that, I've been in the business of product. I've been in the business of distribution. It's time for me to build an ecosystem. So now the ecosystem aggregates both the product and the distribution, seamlessly integrates, which is something we'll talk about too with the softwares. And now our goal is just the same way as a pharmacy owner, I use this platform to provide delivery and services. And I know we always mention, certain things that are important to me: temperature controlled environment and delivery, right? That's why I'm totally against mail order, because that just totally just throws the U.S. Pharmacopoeia guideline rules out the window, which I think is ridiculous. But signatures, consent for refills, live tracking, all that stuff is a formality where you can find that in many logistic platforms. But what we did is, and the clients we serve, say in South Florida, is we've put stuff into our platform to help bring down delivery costs, minimize your attrition rate, reach your 80% threshold on Part D quality measures, different kind of components depending on the certain pharmacy, what they need, right? Then you got specialty pharmacies that need certain commitments. And then you also have ALF pharmacies that want to be able to close orders out in bulk, but deliver in batch. So, there's just different components to it. But now as we're building this ecosystem, it's pharmacy owners have their own drivers doing deliveries out there. And then we did get a lot of requests from people saying, look, we don't want this headache. We want to outsource it. And that's where, just like DeliverStat I've built in Miami, we have people that are starting and building their own businesses all over the country. We're actually, I believe, in 42 states already. And we've also entered the Canada market. And when people ask me, he's like, how did this work? What was the point of it? And where's the success in it? It won't be just about a service or a product anymore. Now it's going to be about us building people that are building their own businesses, entrepreneurs. So I know the man upstairs is going to look at me for that one when I do it. So I'm looking at what am I doing to bring value, not just to the pharmacies, which is the most important thing, right? But to the people who are building this network with me, which are the couriers, and not to mention the PMS platforms that have integrated with me to allow me to be able to expand as I have. So, this is something for us that I'm building, for us independent pharmacies to be able to have a bigger voice at the table.
You told me this story of the 3 pillars of the whole philosophy of the organization, the way that you think. And that was the most impressive thing just right out of the gate about you is the way that you think. You're so intricate and so tied in to the business of pharmacy from multiple angles. It's not just a delivery platform. It's not just logistics software. It's this product distribution and ecosystem that you believe in. Talk to our listeners about that philosophy of those three pillars.
All right, so let me tell you something real quick. Right now, the infrastructure that I'm talking about is already happening. It's live right now. We're doing it, right? One pharmacy delivering in silo is one thing, but 10,000 pharmacies plus under one umbrella delivering creates a value, right? This industry, right from the top, whether you're talking about the three top, the manufacturers, you got obviously Amerisource, Cardinal, and McKesson. It's they're all advocates of independent pharmacies, and I condone that, but it's always been split, right? So what I'm trying to say to these independent pharmacy owners is we're already doing it. Now, if we're doing it in such a manner that we can provide data, not data that people like GoodRx want so they can go and sell it to some other people, but the data of how we're taking care of our patients in our community, your equip scores, things that doctors care about. You got to remember, everybody's got to remember this. The insurance company hires the PBM, right?
Yep.
We know there's vertical integration going on. I understand that. But if there's data to show that your mail order pharmacy, and just now I have two articles that I actually posted on my LinkedIn about how it's not really saving money. It's costing more money. And that's just about the process of using mail order pharmacy. But just think about the end user. Who's the end user? The patient. Think about their care. Think about what's happening with them, right? They're receiving medications that are baking in the oven for 2-3 days, and now it's supposed to work. Come on, let's get real here. So, in my case, who's doing it? We're the only ones in the country right now. I tell everybody all the time, I'll give you 10 grand if you tell me who provides free home delivery other than independent pharmacies in the US right now. Nobody. Pizza Hut's got a charge. Amazon's got Prime. Whatever you buy, you're paying a fee. We can't bake a delivery fee into a copay now, can we? Right? We can bake it into a pizza, but we can't bake it into a copay. So we're already doing something which nobody else is doing. We need to leverage that. And we need, and that's what I'm building. I'm building this to leverage that. I am fortunate enough that my uncle has given me the opportunity to build what I've built here without me having to go and raise venture capital or private equity money out there where I'm losing my mindset of what I'm trying to build, losing my vision, focus, and then I'm being held to certain parameters. I know how these pharmacies take. I'm speaking to a pharmacy owner right now that's got 70 plus locations. It doesn't just turn on because a shareholder wants to turn it on. I got to soothe it in. I got to make sure that I develop my technology to fit exactly into his workflow. And, to turn on that, we are continuously enhancing our platform to make it work for everybody who's doing prescription delivery. And our essential goal is to run every prescription delivery within this country through our platform, whether it's our courier or our pharmacies utilizing it. But what we build is not just value of a company that's got good top line revenue or good bottom line profit. We're building an infrastructure that's undeniable. When you're touching every nook and cranny in this country delivering medications, you're a threat. At that point, nobody can tell us to shut up. We're trying to figure out we keep seeing things. We keep PBM reform, the spotlight's on it, FTC's on it. God bless Lena Khan. I hope she can get it going.
Yeah.
All this is happening, right? But there's one thing that we got to think is the proof's in the pudding, right? So today, right now, there is nobody who's got the data of what the hell we're doing as independent pharmacy owners right now by providing same day, next day home delivery. We're going to create that. And once we create that, that's when everybody's going to have to listen to what we're doing. And that's where I want to bring back value to the independent pharmacy. Knocking on 500,000 homes on a day, all of a sudden now they're paying for your packaging. Somebody's doing product, there's so many opportunities here. And the value is all coming back right to my people. And then taking this global, who's going to be involved is going to be the people that help me build this.
That is so cool. I like the preface and I like the background. It makes me feel more trusting of an organization that has already embedded themselves in the business of pharmacy, and you've grown up through the transformation of what's happening with our pharmacists, and that is they're going to be much more clinically driven with outcomes driven methodologies. This is going to tie right into technology. You're tied into technology to make it as simple as possible through a very well-written API integration between your system and the pharmacy management software. to pull out all of the necessary data, name, date of birth, all the private information under the private security of your technology, the address, making sure that everything is being tracked so that the business owner, the independent pharmacy owner, doesn't have to worry about this as a hiccup between dispensing and packaging and now expecting it to get to the patient in a timely manner and not sitting in a warehouse for 3 days or 4 days or 2 weeks, getting lost, getting baked, like you said, in the hot temperatures that you've referenced. I want to take a pause and you tell the story of the post that you put out on LinkedIn about mail order, all based on this factual information of what's happened to people's medications, and the substance actually becomes weakened or it completely gets nullified.
Yeah, so Loretta Bosing, I'm pretty sure many people in the pharmacy community have heard of her. She is amazing advocate for the independent pharmacies. If there's anything I can ever do to support her and help her, I'm always game for it, right? And it was personal to her. It was to do with her own child, right? And she's being forced to utilize this mail order pharmacy, and it could have been very bad. And the fact that you know there's even been a study done. I can't remember the name of the college off the top of my head, but they did a study where they put something inside a mailbox and let it sit there for 6 hours and to see what the temperature was and whatnot. I mean, in Florida here is reaching 140, 150 degrees. It's not right? Is why do we devalue? Then we're like, okay, no problem. We'll put the insulin in packaging and put ice in the insulin and make sure it gets delivered in the hand because insulin's important, right? Because it costs you money, right? And you don't want to go and spend more money on it after it gets ruined, obviously. But screw the maintenance meds. Who cares? Do they even maintain? Like, what do we care about that? Just throw it out there. It's like receiving a pizza upside down. It's all right, right? I always felt that mail order wasn't the right way to go. 7 to 10 days, something from one side of the country to the other side of the country doesn't need to happen. And the other part, which is the most biggest thing, is access to care, right? Most of these people taking maintenance medications, correct me if I'm wrong, they're 65 or older, or they're veterans, Medicare Advantage patients, Medicaid patients. Don't you think they should have access to somebody they could speak to as a pharmacist?
Yep.
That they could actually walk in. What's the point of me walking into, let's just say Walgreens, right? I'm not against all pharmacy, but let's say they walk into Walgreens. That pharmacist is not really even kind of able to explain nothing to them because the medication is coming from the mail order. There's no reason for them to even go to Walgreens at that point, right? Or local independent pharmacies where they know they can sit there and talk with the guy for maybe hours because we actually give a damn, right? Now, taking is penny wise, pound foolish. You're trying to process something in the longest time with rated less than 1 out of 5 if you rate it, with no temperature control climate throughout the process, no notification letting the patient know it's sitting inside the oven, right? You're going to do all of that, and then penny, as I said, penny wise, pound foolish, because it's a maintenance medication. What is 80% of the medications that are being filled in the US are maintenance medications? Are we just going to devalue that? Are we going to say screw grandpa, screw grandma? We don't. If it works or not, doesn't matter. As long as we got it out and we did the claim, we're good. Doesn't work like that, man. Should never work like that. There should be some respect for these medications that are being delivered.
Yeah, and I think that there's an element of an HCP, a healthcare provider, being in touch with a patient ongoing, and how I've heard hundreds of stories over my 20 years in pharmacy from pharmacists that say being able to see the patient, look at them if they're sweating or they look pasty or like they might be having a stroke or something else is wrong.
Identify non-adherence factors. That was the biggest thing when we were delivering medications with our drivers. Our drivers were able to identify non-adherence factors. Like they would be able to identify, hey, y'all gotta call this patient, or we gotta call their doctor. There's something, it's with mail order, you're just taking every touch point away. You're taking the pharmacist away. You're taking the person at the door delivering it away. You're taking the temperature control climate away. You're taking the request for counseling away. You're taking, where does it make sense? So yeah, I'll always harp about this. I could talk hours about the mail order issues, but I'm not going to do that all day today. We don't have that much time. But yeah, and not to mention they siphoned 150 billion dollars worth of medications that were being filled through our independent pharmacies. That's what I want to bring that back.
So you are an aggressive, strategic. You think of the future. Your whole business is ready to grow. You've put in the time. You've put in the infrastructure. It's ready to go. So let's talk about scaling beyond silos and impacting tens of, thousands and thousands, over 10,000 pharmacies. Let's talk about your vision for that.
Got it. So I've got this thing. I got this hashtag software sells itself. I tell people that anybody could do a demo and they'll sell my software to anybody because it's something that I needed it. Most pharmacy owners, I tell people when I do the demo, is either two things right at the end. Wow, I didn't know this exists. How can I get started, or how can I invest into what you're building? And I tell them all the time, I'm coming back to you guys. Let me keep growing. When you read about me in the newspaper, that's when we'll bring our team in of the people that helped me build it. But as far as the key and most important part that we knew in 2024. Remember, I launched RxMile as a platform out to the public in April of 2023, though I've been in this business since 2002, in 2006 with my pharmacy. So there's that 15 years, right?
Yeah.
Now, but when we launched this, we've had significant growth, got hundreds of pharmacies utilizing it. But we understand what's the most important thing, and that is our partnerships with the PMSs. Whether you're talking about Pioneer, BestRx, DataScan, Liberty, PrimeRx, SRS, Outcomes, what do you call all these different RX30 computer RX frameworks. We both have, I guess, a responsibility here to make the client's life easy and more formidable for them to be able to process and do things. And I think we have an extra layer of necessity that we're responsible for that because of just what's going on in our industry. So I salute and I'm very thankful that a lot of these pharmacy management software people have we've integrated with them, right? We've done an integration. I believe in seamless integration. Not all integrations are created equal. And I will tell you that right now. I've seen some pretty horrible integrations out there with some of these other services. Ours, we focus on strengthening the ties, strengthening the relationships, making our integrations better, right? You had mentioned bringing in the data, the information of the patient, just the delivery data, what prescriptions are within the package. There's more opportunity there to tighten it up. Obviously, I want to be a one-click icon like my hat button in every PMS at one point. I think I'll be there in about 18 to 24 months, but there's still a path to get there. But yeah, that's our main thing right there is we got to keep tightening it up, the integrations. So, people might actually be able to cut labor costs. We've heard of stories from people who utilize our integration with Pioneer, for example, that have been able to, cut some labor costs because there's not double inputting going into two systems. And then they also have been dropped their call volume down by 70-80% because of the live tracking mechanisms within the patient. And, again, that's just the tip of the iceberg of different things that these pharmacies, I'm so thankful that I have pharmacies that are the ones who are my spokesman of the platform, right? Like I want to create a RxMile Facebook page and tell everybody, y'all go in there and talk shit about RxMile so I can fix it and make it even better, right? Let's because my job is just to continue to improve the product, right? I still feel like I haven't got nothing crazy out there yet, but we are going to continue to do what's needed. And then once we have that infrastructure value, that's when we can bring nominal value back to these independent pharmacies too.
A shout out to the listener right now. The sincerity of the team led by Kunal is real. It's based on his experience running pharmacies and helping the pharmacist get more attention to those patients. He looks at things almost as a pharmacy technician does, the right hand of those pharmacists, and understanding how to support the pharmacist to get the busy work out of their way. Logistics is part of that. The software sells itself. Let's talk about how to get a hold of you just for episode 1. This is a 3-part series, so I'm really excited that we're going to be putting additional content and interviews out. We're going to bring on pharmacy owners and some other things. But tell our listeners who are listening right now how to get a hold of you, how to ask a lot of questions, and get a demo of the product.
Okay, so basically, if anybody goes on our website, obviously they can schedule a demo on the website. They can, fill out the inquiry form. If you go there, you click on book demo, then there'll be 4 pharmacies, and we will have somebody available, more than likely myself, to do this demo with you. Need 20 minutes of your time to show you how this software works, and how it can help you in your operation. And I'm that crazy CEO that's going to give out my cell phone number right here. Why? Because I know that Todd's audience is my audience. So my direct cell phone is 407-701-0888. You call me, I pick up. If I don't, I'm in a demo closing another one of your fellow pharmacy owners. So I'm available whenever you're ready. And we have a great team here. I call it my HI team, human intelligence. They actually are available for people. People tell me, when I sign up with you, is it going to be hard to get hold of you since you're a tech company? Now, I'm still keeping that Geico Chick-fil-A mentality, even though I'm tech. We got to be at touch point, right? We got somebody available, whether text, whether email, whether phone call. We know you guys, some pharmacies of ours operate 24 hours a day. So we got to make sure we're doing that. And we do plan to go global. So, our goal is to bring tech with the touch. You can't deplete that.
Well, we love this. We like this partnership. We're going to be behind RxMile all the way. Look for us on social media. The website is rxmile.com.
Correct.
I know you are on Instagram, some of the other social platforms,
LinkedIn.
on LinkedIn as well. A big writer on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn is all business related. Instagram is a little bit fun, right? We're talking about my nephew and his artists and all that. So
absolutely, got to have a little bit mix up. I'm a little bit more loose on Instagram than I am on LinkedIn. It's like I get to go out with my friends on Instagram, and then I straighten up for LinkedIn and start writing some of the data-driven content.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we really appreciate this, Kunal. For the listener, once again, learn more at rxmile.com. Once again, that's rxmile.com. Kunal, you'll be back for episode 2 of The Last Mile with RxMile. We're excited about this series, and I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for your support for this network, and this network is going to become your network.
Oh, wow. You know what? Thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate you and your whole team. Everybody's been amazing as far as with getting all these things coordinated. And yes, you're stuck with me, man. I just got here, and I ain't going nowhere. So you'll be stuck.
We don't
Looking
want
forward to it, my brother.
Keep going.
All right, my boss. Thank you.
Last Mile with RxMile, episode 1. We're ready to go. If you have any questions, if you have any ideas about logistics, if you have any inside information about your own pharmacy management system, if your PMS, your pharmacy management system, is not integrated with RxMile, reach out to Kunal, reach out to me. We're going to get you all plugged in to actually start discussing that. But it's important. This is a network of community pharmacy champions, and there's something bigger than that than just the logistics and delivery of medication. It's what's coming in the future, because there's going to be other things that are going to be added to this, and that's really exciting. So, Kunal, thank you.
Thank you, Todd. I appreciate your time.